fascinating that School Choice Week, which is all about children, is ending on the same day that everybody's at the March for Life. All for children. So today is all children.
You know, that is interesting because it's people who can't speak for themselves.
Yep. So anyway, yeah.
Great.
Are we live? Awesome. Hi, everyone. A little bit behind the scenes here at the PragerU HQ. I'm Elisha Krauss, and I am here with a really awesome heroine, I think, of the school choice movement. And even though we're toward the end of School Choice Week, don't forget to go to SCHOOLCHOICENOW.com and sign our petition. Be sure to send it to the friends and family as well. My personal favorite part is, I don't know if you've seen this, Rebecca, but the map changes as people sign up, and you can totally go to your home state and be like, hello, Texas is winning. Hello, Red River rivalry. Oklahoma needs to step up a little bit. Talking to you, Oklahoma. So there's an element of healthy competition there.
Well, and my favorite part is watching how many teachers have signed up. And look, teachers, we're behind. Uh-oh. We're about, I would say parents are 2 to 1 over us. We need to get some more teachers signing for school choice.
And if you are a parent and a teacher, like you yourself are, you know, I could understand somebody being like, which one do I do?
Yes, but I picked teacher.
Yeah, and I think it's important for educators to be represented because, as your video talks about, there's educators out there that are definitely for school choice. So, we will jump into it. Congrats on your video.
Thank you.
It has over 1 million views right now.
Isn't that great?
And for those that haven't watched it, of course, you can go to PragerU.com or SchoolChoiceNow.com and watch it. But let's tell the audience, everybody watching, a little bit about you. You know, where you're from, why you became a teacher, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So I am currently from San Clemente, California.
It's a beautiful place to be from.
It's very beautiful. We love it. Grew up in Huntington Beach, California. I became a teacher because I adore children. And when I was a child, I was almost always confused. Smart kid, good grades. My father didn't allow C's. So I always had at least A's and B's.
And you were public school educated?
All public school, and a very hardworking student, but I was still confused all the time. And it was because teachers often didn't give me the full background. They didn't give me the big picture so that I could understand the smaller picture, or they didn't give me the smaller details so that I could understand the larger detail. So I thought, you know, I think I'm pretty good at doing that. So I want to take a shot at it, and I love it. And so,
how old were you? I always love to hear this from people, but how old were you when you knew this is what I want to do?
I was only in 6th grade. I was 12 years old.
That's lucky. You're like our founder, Dennis Prager, who knew from a young age exactly what he wanted to do.
I was very fortunate. My father wanted me to be a CPA. Said you can make some really good money being a CPA. And
especially in California, because there's so many laws. You just got to memorize them all.
It's true. And in our tax returns, oh my. And I actually went to college to be a CPA because I was afraid to stick up, tell my dad no. I dropped out and said, Dad, I want to be a teacher.
Wow.
And so then he didn't want me to be out of college, so he let me be a teacher.
And so where have you been a teacher?
I've done my entire career in the same school district.
Okay.
It's called Savannah School District. It's a little district in Anaheim, California. We have only 4 elementary schools. We service 4 different cities: Stanton, Anaheim, Cypress, and Buena Park.
Okay. And so you've been a teacher there, like in the Orange County area.
Yes.
For how long?
28 years.
So same little district for 28 years.
Same little district.
So you know it really well.
I do. And I've been, of those 4 schools, I've taught at 3 of them.
Okay. And so when did you first become aware of teachers' unions?
Well, that's interesting.
I'm always curious about this. Like, is it right at the beginning? Do they, warn you in college? I mean...
Right. Well, I understand nowadays that they do go into the colleges and start getting these college kids to become members.
In college?
In college.
Before they even have their certification?
Right.
Oh, wow.
Well, they're trying to get them to be members. I don't know much about it because that didn't happen to me. But I first found out about teachers' unions when I was student teaching. I had the greatest master teacher I could ever have dreamed of. She taught me everything I know. Her classroom was a haven. But next door to us was a very frightening teacher who, in my opinion, was abusive to her students. So every day when we would be lining the children up for lunch or recess, I would witness as this woman would literally grab these little children and shake them and, drag them into line.
How old were the kids?
First grade, 6 years old. Drag them into line, and she'd be screaming at them. And what really was troubling to me, I was 22 at the time. I was terrified.
Of her.
These
imagine how those
children,
poor little kids felt.
exactly.
Yeah.
They came up to her waist.
Yeah.
And I know they were frightened, and I have no idea what happened once they went in the classroom and the door was shut. No idea. But I went to my master teacher. She was so great. She knew how to fix everything. And I pointed it out. I said, I'm learning how to be a mandated reporter of child abuse. And I think I see some next door. I'm really uncomfortable. And she sat me down and said, Rebecca, today's the day you learn about teachers' unions. And she taught me about teacher tenure. I didn't understand it that much at that time, but I've since learned that teacher tenure works in conjunction with collectively bargained grievance processes and literally ties the hands of district administrators, and they have a very difficult time ridding themselves of teachers like that teacher.
And we talked about that with former DC school chancellor Michelle Reed the other day, because she was talking about how she learned that it was built into these contracts that the entirety of the union had, not the individual teachers, but the entire union has with a school district.
That's right.
So when you use the analogy of their hands were tied, they really were.
They really are.
So when did you first become aware of school choice?
Oh, school choice. I don't think it was called school choice in those days, but I was probably 18. I was teaching Sunday school, and I had all these different students in my class whose parents were really concerned about the direction of our public schools. They had specifically been, our founders started our educational system specifically with Judeo-Christian values, not teaching religion, but the values of the Judeo-Christian faith. And we had scripture in our classrooms, and we had stories of brave and very people with a lot of integrity. And anyway, they started removing all of that from our schools on purpose. And my friends were very concerned that they didn't want their children in those schools. So they started homeschooling.
Hey, homeschooled right here.
There you go. And they, the ones that could afford it would go for private school. And so I was watching thinking, wow, I remember being in high school and being indoctrinated.
Yeah.
And that was a long time ago. I was in high school in the early 80s. And so if I was indoctrinated then, I didn't want my children to be.
Like what's happening now.
Exactly.
So about if you don't mind me asking, about what age was that where you kind of had that epiphany of this seems to make sense?
School choice?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Probably when I was 20 years old. Why wouldn't I, as a parent, want choice? I have the best. I understand my child the best. I know what's best for my child and my family. Why should the government choose my child's school? I think a 5-year-old can understand that.
I've met some pretty smart 5-year-olds.
Me too.
My 3.5-year-old is pretty clever too. So can you explain to everyone what exactly school choice is?
Sure.
And because I think a lot of times, but in the messaging and stuff, people are like, well, does that mean vouchers? Like, does that mean charters, like LAUSD charter?
Right.
Like, what does it mean? What does it encompass?
Sure.
And we've got to work on our language, and I think that's why this movement is so great, to help people understand the purpose and the meaning behind it.
You're so right. This is vital because specifically from my perspective, the teachers union has very deceptive marketing, and their talking points are specifically worded to frighten teachers. So teachers are being told, school choice is, you're going to lose your job, you're going to lose your pension, public schools are going to be destroyed.
Public schools are going to close everywhere.
They're all going to close. And so there's this hysteria, and God bless those teachers who believe it, because they're only hearing that message all the time. So it is important to clarify. School choice just means that the parent has the authority to make the decision of where the child is educated. It could, basically the money follows the child. So instead of saying, oh, you live in, Compton, so your child has to go to school at this school in Compton in this zip code.
Because this is where
that's
your
where you
apartment
live.
Or your home.
Right. And let's say that school is underperforming or dangerous, or let's say it just doesn't meet the needs of your child, but you're stuck there. Well, that's counterintuitive. So a school choice the money follows the child. So there's something called an education savings account, which I think is great. And in that case, I would love parents and teachers to know that the family gets money, like a little credit card, debit card, for that child, and they can use that money at a private school, a public school, a charter school, a home school, online schooling. And guess what? If they don't use it all, say that they are very frugal and they decide, well, we're going to do this less expensive homeschooling and we're going to use this for tutors or whatever. Money's left over, they can save it for college.
So it's not just a K through 12 option and a relief. It could be K through college.
Exactly.
Which is something that I don't think that either side of the aisle would disagree with.
No, who would disagree with that?
What you said there about it might just not work for your kid, I think is something that a lot of people watching can connect to.
Yes.
And I mean, I was homeschooled for all 12 years. I'm the middle of 3 girls, but neither of my sisters were homeschooled for all 12 years. And I look at my daughter and I look at my nieces and I, look at family friends, and one school might work for one kid, but then the other kid might need to be homeschooled or want to be homeschooled or want to go to a specific school so they could be, quarterback of the football team.
Right.
And why can't they have that choice?
That's right. I have a niece who was in a public school in her neighborhood, and she lives in a very nice town, Carlsbad, in California. And she was getting D's and F's, and she's given me permission to tell her story. Her name's Sarah. She was getting D's and F's. She hated school. She never wanted to go to school. My brother and his wife had to fight her to get her to school all summer. She was so glad she wasn't in school. At this time that I'm talking about, she was, I believe, in 6th grade.
Yeah.
So
then as a parent, you're like, is this like her being a teen?
Exactly.
Or is it
well,
her,
and the school kept saying there's something wrong with her. She's not learning. I'd sit down and work with her. She'd catch on just fine. She was fine. They said she can't figure out long division. I sat with her for 10 minutes. She got it. She was bright, but something wasn't connecting for her in that school. Finally, a public charter school opened in their neighborhood, and they had one opening for her grade. And I said, jump on it. She went to that school. Her grades went up. She suddenly loved school. My brother said all summer she's saying, when does school start?
Yeah.
And I saw her everything about her change.
It's a transformation.
Well, it was. She was wearing only black, and she was really down. And then all of a sudden, she was this beautiful flower. She came out of whatever darkness she was feeling.
Well, and school choice can be such an empowering thing. And that's why I love to hear those stories, because it is about the individual person and their needs being met.
Yes.
And them being able to, the parents making a decision, involve teachers helping along the way. And it could be a whole cohesive, beautiful community working together.
Exactly. And I think public school teachers need to understand. I'm a public school teacher. They feel threatened because they've been told to feel threatened. There's no threat. A school choice is not a threat. Your public school might be perfect for these particular children that choose that school, but it might not be perfect for some other child who would do better in a different school.
So what then would be your diagnosis of the current problems with America's public education system?
I have 2.
Okay.
The number 1 is teachers' unions. Why do we have a labor union running an educational system? That makes no sense. Labor unions have a certain business model. Their business model is, we're going to get the most for our members that we can get. So they're fighting for more money, more this, more that. They're also very political, using money for all sorts of political issues. What does any of that have to do with children? Nothing. And so our focus is wrong. My value is child first, not money first, not power first, not give me XYZ first. It's not about me. It's about the child. And great teachers feel that way. We want the children to be served first. So that's the first problem. The second problem, and to be very, very honest,
that's what we're here for.
Yes.
We love honesty.
Yes. We have some great parents out there, and we have some great teachers out there.
Yeah.
But we also have some parents that aren't involved, and we have some teachers that need to leave the classroom. We need great teachers. We need all parents, 100% of parents, to be involved. Children who do great in school, they do great because the child is held accountable. The child is held accountable, not the teacher. Nowadays it's, why did my child get a D? Why did you give my child a D? Well, your child earned a D. Okay? The teacher's
I apologize because that seems like a millennial thing, like a millennial would say. Is it's everyone else's fault except the like individual.
Millennials say it because their parents set them up to learn it, and
Dang
we need
boomers.
to
We
relearn. It's true. We need to relearn. So now I need to reword that because the teacher is accountable.
Of course.
The teacher's accountable for teaching well,
Yeah.
presenting the information well, following up.
That big picture, little picture
yes,
that you talked about.
Exactly. Ensuring that the child, you don't give a child a test, they fail, and then you just move on. Okay, reteach. We're responsible for all that. Parent is responsible for supporting all that. The child is responsible for learning, listening, focusing, doing the work, all of it. We all have to be in what my friend Kurt James and I call the education triangle. The child's at the top. Parents and the teachers are down here supporting. So if we could grow the education triangle in our country, and if we could have teachers and parents running our schools instead of labor unions, we could improve by tomorrow.
So why do you think that the teachers' unions oppose school choice? Because it has such better improved results for students and for families, and in a lot of situations for teachers. I mean, you look at situations where teachers are a part of these charter programs and optional programs or kind of out of the box programs, and their quality of life and their work quality seems to drastically improve.
They love it.
So why are unions so adversely against it?
Well, it goes back to their values. So the labor unions' values are: how can we get more money? How can we get more power? How can we, push our agenda? It has nothing to do with children. They use the faces of children, and they tell everybody we're doing this for the children.
For the children is like the line that's always used.
Oh, sure, but I've been teaching 28 years in California public schools, and I have seen very little that's actually for the children. It's always for the adults. It's always for the political machine or whatever political desires they have at that point. Very little for the children. And in fact, often, things that they're doing are bad for the children. Can I tell a story?
Yeah, because that's fascinating to me, because you kind of hear these horror stories of maybe it's a bad teacher that doesn't know how to relate to or doesn't have the resources needed to help a special needs student or to help a rowdy 7-year-old boy, which I mean, let's face it, all boys are rowdy,
They
right?
are. Don't you love them?
But so give those examples of like what would the union do, or what stories do you have about what the union has done in your 28 plus years experience that really isn't for the children, even though they're molding it and marketing it in that way.
Yeah. So I'll tell you two, and if I get off track, help me remind me that I promised two. So the first one I'd like to share is I actually served as a union representative in my local union.
Yes.
And I did that because I saw all these things going on.
And that's the California Teachers Association.
California Teachers Association.
Which, for the audience, you then went on, and it was Friedrichs versus
the
CTA.
Yes. So I sued California Teachers Association and National Education Association. It wasn't just me. It was 10 California teachers. And we went to the United States Supreme Court. So what was I going to tell you?
You were going to tell me a story about what the unions do.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I noticed throughout my career, I kept trying to stick up for the kids. I kept trying to stick up for my colleagues. I'd go talk to school board members, or I would talk to my principals, or I would talk to just whoever would listen. And I always had the same answers. Oh, yeah, you're right, Rebecca, but we can't do that. We can't. So I thought, wait a minute, I need to serve on my union. Certainly, we all care about the kids.
And you became a union leader.
Talk about it, yes. Yeah. So I became a local union leader in my district level.
Okay.
And I was on our executive board. I served for 3 years. And during that time, I saw a lot of things that made me very unsettled. I saw things that I believe are corruption. I saw a lot of abuse of teachers, teacher leaders. But I'll tell this one story. During the downturn in the economy, I don't remember the exact year, but probably around 2008, I was a union leader at that time. And there were several teachers in our school district who were going to lose their jobs. We were told, these teachers are going to be laid off because we don't have enough funding to keep their jobs.
Yeah.
Okay, we all understand a funding shortage. So I went to several colleagues on my campus, and I said, what do you think? I would like to go as your rep and suggest that we take a small pay cut to save their jobs. And my teacher colleagues said, oh, that's great. Let's do it. So so I went in to the union leadership meeting, and I said, we would like to suggest that we ask the teachers in our district if we could take a small pay cut, maybe 3-4% pay cut.
Which isn't much, which is a generous sacrifice for you guys, but if it helps save jobs and it helps save, teachers that these kids were familiar with in the classroom.
That's it. Well, and it's even more than that. I had been mentoring some of these teachers on my campus. They had brought our fourth grade writing scores way up. We were struggling with those fourth grade writing. It was a new thing and it was difficult and we didn't know how. They brought them way up. They should have been rewarded for that.
Yeah.
The parents loved them. The kids loved them. I'm in a lower income district. The smaller class sizes were helping us. So now all of a sudden these teachers are all going to lose their jobs. Class sizes will go up. So I said, look, the parents in our neighborhood they're not only losing jobs and moving in with family, but the ones who have jobs, their hours are being cut. Why don't we stand in solidarity with them? We'll take a small cut, save these jobs. Long story short, I brought this up I told you I'm a middle child, so I can just
we're both middle children, so we've had to learn how to speak up for ourselves.
Yes, exactly.
And even interrupt sometimes when we need to get our point across.
That's it.
And we're not afraid of being shot down. You will pass the mashed potatoes because I will ask you until you pass them. But
being a middle child sets you up for fighting.
Squeaky wheel. You were like, I'm going to be the squeaky wheel until I get the oil.
Exactly. So I just continually, every meeting, every time I saw one of the leaders in the union leaders, and I said, can't we just talk? Okay, I know. How about we take a survey? I'll even write it. An anonymous survey. We ask every teacher in our district if they'd be willing to take this cut. If 51% say no, I'll go away. I won't say another word. And they would not let me do that. They kept saying the teachers won't go for it. The teachers won't go for it. But they wouldn't let me ask the teachers. Finally, out of exasperation one day, a union leader says to me, Rebecca, look, don't worry about those teachers. The union's going to take care of them. We're going to give them a seminar on how to get unemployment benefits. And I was sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
I said, they pay you $1,000 a year for your representation. And you represent them out of a job. Every last one of them lost their job.
And how many were there?
I don't remember. It's a small district, maybe 8 or 9.
Yeah,
because we only have 4 schools.
How that affected so many them and their families, the lives of their students and their families, and then it affects even the kids who didn't lose a teacher because now they have extra students in their class.
Exactly. It was unbelievable.
And there's no solid answer of the reason behind it.
And here's what really bugged me. I talked to each one of them. And we'd be in the teacher's lounge and they'd be talking. Every last one of them said, I don't understand why the district doesn't appreciate me. I worked so hard. Maybe I'm not called to be a teacher. Maybe I'm not supposed to. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. It wasn't the district. The district wanted to save your job. I talked to the district. It was your union. It was the people you paid $1,000 a year that chased you out of a job. And yes, you are called. They were great teachers. Here they were feeling, I'll go into another career because maybe I'm really not called. That's why we have a teacher shortage. There are plenty of people out there called into teaching and capable of doing it, but they have been beaten down and their morale is so low because of this kind of stuff.
Well, and it's kind of funny because we often hear from unions that school choice is against teachers. But based on the story that you just shared, it seems as if the unions really seem to be more pro them and against the teachers, like in these real life scenarios.
That's exactly right.
And that's just incredibly
sad. It comes back to that business plan or that, business values. Their values are to do better for the union. The union needs to grow. The union needs to be strong. It's not about the kids.
So one final question, and I'm sure everybody watching will be interested in this. There's been a lot of buzz about Betsy DeVos recently. And so she's President Trump's, of course, nominee for Education Secretary. What are your thoughts on Betsy DeVos? And would you have any advice to her should she be nominated or, approved?
Yeah, I love Betsy DeVos. I think she's a treasure. She has given the last 3 decades of her life and her fortune to helping children, children in low performing and dangerous schools. She's rescued them. Their parents didn't have the resources. She brought them out. I mean, there are so many stories surrounding Betsy DeVos and some of her many friends that are also involved with helping bring these kids out of lower income schools. I got to listen to a young man, I cannot remember his name, but he was playing a Stradivarius.
Oh my goodness.
The most beautiful violin music I've ever heard. He was about 19 years old. He had been rescued out of a low-performing public school. He never would have had that music
Probably
experience.
wouldn't have even had a music teacher.
Oh, he wouldn't even have me.
Yeah.
My district doesn't have music. I mean, we have a small county-run program. A few kids get it, but we don't have a music teacher.
Wow.
So he ended up, his gift, he had this dormant gift inside of him of music.
Yeah.
It never would have come to fruition in his public school. And because of Betsy DeVos and her friends, this boy is playing the most, I wish I could play it for you. It's the most beautiful. I sat and wept when I listened to him. And he wept when he told us the story of how he was blessed by these people who gave him an opportunity to go to a better school. So I'm very excited about Betsy DeVos. If you go to teachers union websites, they have petitions against her.
Oh, yeah.
I listened to a little video on my particular CTA website, the union that I'm forced to fund. Everything that they said it wasn't true. It was very deceptive. Or they'll take a piece of the truth and twist it in a way to really confuse people. I think she's wonderful. I think she's going to be great for our kids, and I support her 100%. I hope she gets the vote.
Well, we really appreciate your insight and your time today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Be sure to share this, like it, and don't forget to go to schoolchoicenow.com, join the movement, sign the petition. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.